So hi guys, welcome to NatzMath TV. So this is now another episode of Basic Math Review Series. So let us start with this example. The sum of 3 times a number and 5 is 23. What is the number? A 2, B 4, C 6, D 8. So as you have observed here, this is a worded problem. This is an example of a number problem. So in a number problem, what we need to do is to translate the worded problem into an equation. If we are going to analyze the problem, it says here that the sum of 3 times a number, as you can see here, we have this phrase, a number. In this problem, we need to represent what is this number. Since we do not know what is this number, so we need to represent this number using a variable. We can use any variable, but usually the variables that are commonly used in algebra are x, y, and z. But you can use any other variable. So to translate this problem, so we have here the sum of 3 times a number and 5 is 23. In mathematics or in algebra, is denotes equal. So for the solution, first things first is, as I have said, we need to represent what is this number. So for this example, we will be using x as the number. So we let x be the number. So if we are going to translate this word problem into an equation, so we can write this problem as 3 times a number. So since our number is x, so it says here 3 times a number. So we have here 3 times our number, which is x. So we represented this number as x. Then since this is the sum of 3 times a number and 5, so we have here 3x plus 5. Then is denotes equal. So we have here 23. So therefore, this is now our equation translated from the worded problem. And we are told to find what is the number. So in this case, we have to solve for the value of x. Since this is now an equation or linear equation, so we have to isolate the constant at the right side of the equation. So since we have here 5 as our constant, so we will be using subtraction property of equality. So we will subtract 5 at the left side of the equation. We will also subtract 5 at the right side of the equation, because in equation, whatever we do to the left side is the same thing that we need to do at the right side. So therefore, since we subtracted 5 from the left side of the equation, so we will also subtract 5 from the right side of the equation. In this case, we can now cancel out these 2. We have here 5 minus 5 is 0. So the equation becomes 3x equals 18. That is 23 minus 5. Then, since we are only going to solve for the value of x, so therefore we need to eliminate the 3. So to eliminate the 3 here as the coefficient of x, we need to divide both sides of the equation by 3. So we can cancel out the 3. So what remains now at the left side of the equation is x. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. So therefore, our x is equal to 6. So this is now our number, since we are told to find what is the number. So our number is 6. So therefore, the correct answer is letter C. So let us proceed to our next example. This next example is still about a number problem. So we have here, the sum of two numbers is 9. Their product is 20. Find the numbers. So A, 3 and 6. B, 4 and 5. C, 1 and 20. D, negative 2 and negative 10. Now in this problem, we have two equations. So the first equation is from this statement. The sum of two numbers is 9. So we have one equation here. It says here the sum of two numbers. Then the second equation is about their product, which is 20. So this is now another equation. So first things first is to illustrate the worded problem into an equation. So first, again, we need to represent the numbers, since we are told to find the numbers and we do not know the numbers. So therefore, we have to represent the numbers. Since we are talking of two numbers here, so we have to represent two numbers. So we have to represent, we need to let x be the first number, since again, we are to find two numbers. And of course, we let y be the second number. But do not be confused about this x and y, because the resulting equation is quadratic equation. We can do the reverse. we can use the x as our numbers or y as our numbers depending on the equations that we will be using. So now, to represent the number, the sum of two numbers, so we have to translate this statement into an equation. So the sum of two numbers is 9. So meaning we have here the first number and the second number. So the sum of these two numbers is 9. So if we are going to represent that into equation, so we can write this statement as x plus y equals 9. So if we are going to add the first number and the second number, that would be equal to 9 according to this statement. Then of course, the second statement, their product is 20. So meaning, if we are going to multiply the first number and the second number, the result is 20. So this is now our first equation and this is now our second equation. Now, to proceed, we need to decide which variable are we going to solve first. If we are going to solve for x, we need to identify the initial value of y. Or if we are going to solve for y, we need to get the initial value of x. The same also with the second equation. So therefore, since, for example, if we are going to solve for x in this case, so we need to solve for the initial value of y. We can use equation 1 or we can use equation 2. But for this example, we will be using equation 1. So if we are going to solve for the initial value of y, we need to eliminate x at the left side of the equation by using subtraction property of equality. So we subtract x here at the left side of the equation. Of course, we will also subtract x at the right side of the equation. So the equation becomes y equals 9 minus x. So this is now our equation. Y equals 9 minus x. And this equation is coming from the first equation. So what we need to do now is to substitute this initial value of y to the second equation, which is xy equals 20. So instead of writing y here, we change that with 9 minus x because this is equal to y coming from the first equation. So this becomes, we copy the x, this x here, this is our x, and instead of writing y, we change that with this initial value of y from the first equation. So that is 9 minus x. So we just simply copy 20. Now we multiply, we distribute x to the terms inside the parentheses. We will simplify. So 9 times x is 9x. Then 9 times negative x is negative x squared. Then we copy equals 20. Since the resulting equation is a quadratic equation, so what we need to do is to equate this equation to 0. So what we need to do with 20 is we need to subtract 20 at this right side of the equation so that this will be equated to 0. And of course, we will also subtract 20 at the right side of the equation. Because as I've said, whatever we do to the left side of the equation is the same thing we need to do to the right side of the equation and vice versa. So since we subtracted 20 at the right side, we will also subtract 20 at the left side. So the equation becomes, we arrange since using the standard form of quadratic equation, so the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So this becomes negative x squared. So this is negative x squared followed by the next term which is positive 9x and minus 20 equate to 0. Now to make it a standard form, we need to divide both sides of the equation by negative 1 so that this will become positive. So if we are going to divide this one by negative 1, so this becomes positive x squared. And if we are going to divide this one by negative 1, this becomes negative 9x. And if we are going to divide this one by negative 1, this becomes positive 20. And of course, 0 divided by any number is 0. So the resulting equation is x squared minus 9x plus 20 equals 0. This time, this is now a quadratic equation in standard form. So what we need to do is to factor out the left side of the equation, this trinomial here, x squared minus 9x plus 20 equals 0. So we need to factor this out. So the factors of this trinomial shall be x minus 5 times x minus 4. So we factor out x squared. So we have here the x and the x. We multiply x times x, that is x squared. Then we proceed directly to the last term. Since this is positive, so we just simply copy the sign of the middle term. So our middle term is negative, so this is negative and negative. factors of 20 that when added will give us 9. And that is 5 times 4, which is 20. And 5 plus 4 is 9. Then, equate each factor to 0. So, x minus 5 equate to 0. So, this becomes x minus 5 equals 0. And the second factor, x minus 4 equals 0. So, solve for x now. X is equal to 5 and x is equal to 4. So, therefore, our correct answer is letter B, 4 and 5. Now, do not be confused about this representation, which is x as the first number and y as the second number, and the resulting values are all variable x. Why? Because we have used the initial value of y as our equation of reference. But if we will be using the initial value of x here, the resulting equation will be y and y. So, again, we will still be getting the same value, which is 4 and 5, if we are going to use x as our variable. So let's proceed to another example. Perform the operation 3 over 4 plus 5 over 12 minus 1 over 6. So this is now a series of operations on fraction. So A, 4, B, 3, C, 2, D, 1. So since this is a dissimilar fraction, so what we need to do is to find the LCD. So the LCD between 4, 12, and 6 is of course 12. So since 12 is divisible by all the denominators here, so we can divide 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then 3 times 3 is 9. So we have here 9. Then 12 divided by 12 is of course 1. Then 1 times 5 is 5. So we have here plus 5. Then 12 divided by 6 is 2. Then times 1 is of course 2. So we have here minus 2. So we perform the operations in the numerator. We have 9 plus 5 is 14. Minus 2 is 12. So this is 12 over 12. And 12 divided by 12 is of course equal to 1. So therefore, our correct answer is letter D. So before I go, you try these examples first. The sum of 6 times a number and 2 is 14. So find the number. A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, D, 8. Number 2. The sum of two numbers is 5. Their product is 6. What are the numbers? A, 1 and 5, B, 2 and 4, C, 1 and 4, D, 2 and 3. Number 3. Perform the operation 2 over 3 minus 3 over 5 plus 1 over 4. So that's it. I hope you have learned something from this video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share to your friends. So thank you and God bless.